Story 1 of the Government Lockdown. The rain was a violent, driving percussion against the reinforced glass of the 6th floor control room. This government facility, a hulking, 6-story structure encased in barbed wire, dropped unceremoniously in the middle of a massive, empty woodland, was designed for isolation. I'd taken the weekend overnight shift for the overtime, a decision I instantly regretted around 2 a.m. when the massive thunderstorm hit. I was half watching a movie on my phone, the silence of the abandoned halls broken only by the wind's shriek. When I got up to stretch my legs, a flash of lightning briefly turned the world outside the window into a stark, overexposed photograph. And in that instantaneous white glare, I saw it, a figure, low to the ground and unnaturally fast, darting 20 feet from the cover of one massive pine to another, just past the perimeter fence. I dismissed it as exhaustion until I got back to the monitor bank. The feed for the back parking lot camera, the one overlooking the woods, was dead. Not blacked out, the camera itself was dangling uselessly from its wires in the storm, a casualty of the high winds, or so I told myself. A few moments later, the silence of the control room was shattered by a sharp electronic alert. The access log flashed green on my screen. Someone had just used the keypad at the restricted back entrance. They had the code. The blood went cold in my veins. This wasn't a weather accident, it was a breach. I grabbed the desk phone, dead. My mobile had no service. Just as I started to sprint into the hallway to find a signal, the entire building plunged into absolute darkness. The emergency lights failed to kick on. They had cut the power, likely from the generator in the basement. Trapped, I crept toward the stairwell, aiming for the front lobby and the escape to my truck. I made it to the 4th floor before I heard it, a solid, heavy thud from the darkness below, followed by slow, deliberate footsteps climbing up the steps. I froze. I was armed, but I was not ready for a firefight in pitch black. Turning silently, I scrambled back up toward the roof hatch. My handgun scraped against the metal railing, a sudden, ringing clang echoing through the cavernous shaft. The footsteps immediately stopped, then erupted into a full-out charge. I barely managed to slam the 6th floor door and dive behind the ladder leading to the roof hatch. Moments later, the heavy door was thrown open. I heard the thunder of footsteps tearing down the empty hall, convinced I had run out. That moment of distraction bought me the split second I needed. Leaping down the stairwell in the darkness, I raced the intruder down 6 flights. I heard a muffled crash and a cry of pain as I burst out the lobby door. He had fallen. I hit the fob for my truck, scrambled across the lot, and tore out onto the side road. Later, the police confirmed what the intruder dropped in the darkness of the stairwell, a fully loaded, unregistered semi-automatic handgun. Whatever he wanted, it was deadly. Story 2, the silent follower in the geage. Night shift security at the corporate office was usually a silent, dull vigil over empty hallways, which is why I was scanning the underground parking garage cameras at midnight. The lot was meant to be completely deserted, yet there it was, a dark, oversized figure gliding slowly between the columns of parked cars. He wasn't carrying a laptop bag or cleaning supplies, he was just wandering, taking his time, like a predator inspecting a maze. A knot of professional unease tightened in my chest. I told my supervisor, but my instinct demanded a physical check. The elevator ride down to the garage level was painfully slow, the sound of the steel cables amplifying my anxiety. When the doors opened, the silence was total. I walked every row, flashlight beam cutting through the gloom, calling out the standard security here. The lot was completely empty. I convinced myself the camera must have caught a weird shadow. But as soon as I was back in the lobby, the camera feed betrayed me. He was there again, standing in the exact same spot I had just left, unmoving, as if I had merely blinked him back into existence. My stomach dropped. He couldn't have gotten back so fast, which meant one chilling thing: he had been there when I was, hidden just out of sight, watching me patrol. I watched for 20 minutes as he finally moved, disappearing around a corner near the stairwell. I checked every other camera, halls, elevators, even the roof access, nothing. He had simply vanished inside a fully locked building. Moments later, the elevator dinged on the lobby floor. It was empty. But leading away from the elevator, across the polished marble, were unmistakable tracks, wet, bare footprints. The realization was sickening. He was inside, stalking me, but he had removed his shoes to move silently. Ignoring my better judgment, I grabbed my flashlight and took the elevator to the 5th floor. Halfway down a silent corridor, I spotted an office door slightly ajar. As I pushed it open to check inside, I heard it from behind me, a heavy, sloppy sound of wet, uneven footsteps slapping the tile. He wasn't running, but he was moving with terrifying intent, and I knew he had been shadowing me the whole time. Panic took over, and I sprinted for the stairwell, slamming the door behind me. I sat there shaking, my breath ragged, listening to the silence, knowing he was just on the other side. When the backup patrol finally arrived, they found nothing. The worst part? The footage from the time he appeared was mysteriously corrupted. I never went back. I couldn't handle the thought of those wet footprints and that silent, invisible stalker waiting for me. Story 3: The Silent Ambush at the Clinic. It was my first night training as a mobile security guard in Mississauga, making site visits with my supervisor. We pulled up to a medical clinic/pharmacy for a routine perimeter check, but something was immediately wrong. The underground parking garage door was open, and the main front door was busted inward, yet the alarm system remained completely silent. My supervisor, visibly unnerved, muttered about the impossible silence. As we cautiously approached, the digital display on the elevator suddenly began cycling G1, 2, 3, and stopping right at the top, level 4. Someone was definitely inside, and they knew we were there. We quickly took the elevator straight to the 4th floor. My supervisor was sweating, pulling out his baton and telling me to stick close. When the doors opened, the hallway was pitch black, silent, and empty. After turning on the lights and finding nothing, we heard footsteps clattering down the service stairwell. We moved to intercept, but just as we reached the stairwell door, the footsteps abruptly stopped. The silence that followed was suffocating. We could hear nothing but our own labored breathing. My supervisor, shaken, grabbed his radio and broadcast a chilling message to dispatch, a 4-call C-25. We need immediate backup. Someone's in the building with us and they are hiding downstairs, possibly armed, waiting for us to ambush us. He was right. We couldn't take the noisy elevator down, and we couldn't run down the stairs where the suspect was silently waiting to spring an attack. We were trapped on the 4th floor, waiting in absolute terror for 15 minutes until our senior supervisor arrived. By the time all three of us swept the building, the suspect was gone. The front door was heard opening and footsteps ran off outside, but we were too late. That initial, calculated silence and the knowledge that a person was hiding in the dark, patiently planning an ambush from the stairwell corner, is a fear that will stick with me forever. I have to go back to that clinic this weekend, and this time, I'll be alone.